Hey gang, Tony here, aka GoBlue92 here on the PlayStation 4 Pro. Wednesday evening, 7:30. I have been preparing myself for the last couple of days for this. In case you didn't know, this is going to be my third full playthrough of What Remains of Edith Finch. I initially played this game last year in 2019. The PlayStation Plus offered this game as a freebie, and I picked it up right away. I'd actually heard a lot of good things about it. It's developed by a company called Giant Sparrow. You may have heard of another one of their games called The Unfinished Swan. That was originally that I had played on the PlayStation 3. I think that was released in 2009. What Remains of Edith Finch was released in 2017. So I did, I played it twice last year. I actually streamed the second playthrough of this game. And I regret not saving that particular playthrough. I would have loved to upload it on YouTube just for documentation purposes, I guess. The first time you play this, it's a fantastic game. It kind of comes at you in a way that you really don't see in any other games. It's very emotional. It's very depressing at times. But the narrative, hands down, by far the best narrative possible. All of last year, I listed 3 games to be the top 3 that I played in 2019. This was one of them. The other 2 being Detroit Become Human and Red Dead 2. So, this game is can provoke a few emotions here and there. It'll put the lump in your throat definitely. So I don't want to spoil too much for you, but let's just go through it. So, the initial screen right here, obviously you see a family tree of the Finches. Edith is up on top, so you can see the born on dates, the dates that they have passed away, all the way down to Odin and Edie, all the way on the bottom there. So you can kind of see where who the children are. Who they've married, those are in the leaves. So, let's just get to it. So, this game actually does take place off the coast of Washington State in the Pacific Northwest. Kind of like with when I played Dear Esther last weekend on the stream. They don't give you a whole lot as far as what button does what. You just don't know. You kind of have to figure it out yourself. So yes, you'll have certain cues going on. I'm looking around with the right stick right now. Everything is in first person.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
I think one of the main... I remember when they first released this game, I remember just screenshots of this house. How it's almost kind of piecemeal, that just kind of built on top of each other. I just thought that was fascinating.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms. Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately. I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral. In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery...
So now you're left with going either left or right. There's two different paths. The left path will go take you down in the woods. The right path, obviously, you're kind of on the main walk. But either way, you'll still end up at the house.
No one had driven this way in a long time, but I saw a few hoof prints. The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to. The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
I think this house is so cool. I'm actually looking up at it right now. The right stick will actually help you look up, down, left, right. Left stick on the controller.
I asked Edith once about the dragon in the pond. She said it had killed her husband. I was 6. It seemed like an odd joke to me, even then.
Those are a bunch of missing posters. You're going to see them all over the house, outside.
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words. Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house. I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't. Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me. Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
I'm taking it pretty slow on purpose. Just the soundtrack to this game is absolutely fantastic. Probably one of the best I've ever heard in a video game. Jeff Russo did all the composition for this game.
The power had been turned off the night we left. For the first time in years,
we got some coat racks here, all nicely labeled for whomever. January 2010, so it's been 7 years, so obviously this game would take place sometime in 2017.
I felt like I was home.
In the kitchen of the
But instead
Finch
of a
home.
family, there were just memories of one.
So we have our first family member, Lewis. As you can see that he has passed away.
Like how after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly. Or how only one restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot.
It's amazing how many books that they have accumulated. I mean, they're on the floors, the counters. Never mind the bookshelves.
The table was still a wreck from the night we left. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture. My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home.
I just think it'd be so weird to come back to a place like this that has not been visited in 7 years and everything is as it was left. It's crazy. Kind of creepy in a way, but it's just so odd. It's just...
Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
After the house sinks, yeah. Everything will be touched upon. Yeah, you can see that it's just bookshelves of books.
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
Music box, it says Barbara on top of it.
Great-Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
It's got Bigfoot.
A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night. My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive. Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
Door has been sealed shut. With just a peephole to look into. Now we'll head to the second floor.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
There you go. Photos and books. Yeah, we'll see, we'll come across the bedrooms of all the Finch family members with their birth dates and the date that they have passed away. Like she said, everything is sealed up except for this room.
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up. Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him. Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
This is where it gets so cool. I'm just gonna go take a look down the other hallway here real quick, just to see the other spots of the upstairs.
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house.
Barbara, 1944 to 1960. Ooh.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
So Barbara was the actress of the family. She must have been a child actor. And we have
Mom
a third
must have
floor.
locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
That's shut tightly. A couple more, 3 more bedrooms down here. Sven Hofstedt Finch. And Edie. Calvin, 1950 to 1961. Again, this door's completely sealed. We actually do have Calvin and Sam are on the same door. They are twin brothers.
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
That is one pink bathroom. Shag carpeting. Gregory, only 1 year old. Calvin, just by looking at his dates, 11 years old. Very young. Barbara, looks like she was about 16. So early on, you kind of get that impression that, boy, these Finch children are dying pretty young. Edith, like she has said, she is, what, 17 years old now? Molly, 10 years old. That was the oldest child of Sven and Edie. And Walter does not have a nameplate on the door. So I'm noticing things now in my third playthrough. You see this house underwater, and it's basically what Edith has already referred to about the house sinking. You can kind of see the Finch's nameplate, name sign, just coming up out of the sand there. So obviously, there's some house underwater. That looks like a train car. So let's get into it here, huh? So Edith is gonna crawl on through.
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me.
He's quite the little artist.
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door. Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
So we're in...
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
I mean, just the detail that is in this game.
Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
That's just it. This room has been sealed up for so long. But Molly was only around for 10 years. And she passed away decades. So everything is left as... it's just... It's insane. December of 1947 is when she passed away. And of course you're walking, it's like you're going back in time basically.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it. I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back. I kept eating and eating.
I suppose toothpaste in 1947 probably wouldn't be very good for you.
I ate a lot of things that night.
So she's just going to eat plastic holly berries, considering it's Christmas time.
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat. I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
See if we can get up over there. There we go. There's a frisbee up here.
Mom and Dad didn't even look at me.
Sven and Edie.
I jumped and I almost got her.
There's a pretty sweet treehouse here.
I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up.
Whoops.
And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass. Rabbits. His face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger. A mama rabbit. She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
Obviously, Molly's got one heck of a imagination. Again, she wrote this all in her diary. shortly before she passed away.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seals. I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
There she is.
Grabbed on tight. When I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
Now you're like this monster. You're like this huge tentacle.
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere.
With Burl Ives Christmas music. You can't go wrong with some Burl.
I was big, but I moved real quiet. I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
I think you get a trophy if you let him finish a song before you actually eat him. There's no platinum trophy in this game, but you can get them all pretty easily. Early in the morning. He's about ready to pass out. Yeah, that's gotta taste good.
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I saw something new. Something to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
We were back in Molly's bathroom.
I got closer and closer. All my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Yeah, you really don't get, how Molly died. Considering that was a great story, not sure if she just got really sick.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. We got along, and it was a good place to hide from my mom.
Lewis.
Her
22
room
years
was like
old.
a museum.
There's Odin.
For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind.
So they put this gigantic Norwegian house on this barge, and they expect to go from Norway, sail, God knows how they're going to get there. I'm guessing through the Atlantic, around South America, come up the Pacific.
But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea.
It's insane.
Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery.
Yeah, in the background, there's the house that I'm in.
His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house.
It's crazy.
Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways. Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones.
Yeah, if you see Edith's hands come up to make any type of an update in the journal, you can see those knitted gloves.
Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time. One summer, they evacuated the island, but Edie refused to go. For a few weeks, she was a celebrity.
It's kind of like the story of there was a man who lived next to Mount St. Helens in Washington State. They knew that it was going to blow sooner or later, just big volcanic eruption, and he would not go, and he ended up perishing because of that.
When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't.
Which we did see earlier was we walked into the house. There's the house blueprints. Obviously Sven's a very talented wood maker. Built in 1937. Just the details like that really reminds me, my family has a farm excuse me, back in Minnesota. It actually has something kind of like that. It has the date painted on one of the boards of wood up in the hayloft. So again, everything is as it was left. It's sad actually. You got the pill tray there, obviously pills everywhere, oxygen tank, rocking chair, just all this memorabilia within the house. Hats, little shrine to Sven, bird cages, books. Oh. Handprints. Those are pretty cool. Huh. Painting with a kind of a birds are coming out of the painting. That's actually pretty cool. With the Finch house in the background there.
Even in her 90s. Sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Ah, the pink bathroom.
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife, Kay, left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
Yeah, again, this door is properly sealed. Again, just the detail. Mount Rainier. I think that would be kind of cool. If you ever built your own house, you've got to put in secret passages. No doubt about it. I think that would just be so cool.
There's a secret in this bathroom.
So you got Sven with 2 kids, and I'm guessing that's going to be Calvin and Sam.
It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Gosh, it's just brilliant, the design. of this game, how they pull all of this off. Calvin Finch. He was 11 years old.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
So I think by about this time, when I was playing it the first time, you're dealing with the Finch children in this family dying young. You don't know how. Obviously, there's some sort of a curse on the family, and you can't comprehend like what is going on. So obviously, you got to keep going through this house to figure out what in the world happened. You've got to piece everything together. Milton underneath here with a swing. And we'll come out in Sam and Calvin's room. Now this is pretty cool since they were twins. I love this door. Sam the soldier, Calvin the spaceman. And, you know, they have the years of their height. And it's pretty sad to see it stop in 1961 for Calvin because obviously he'd passed away. Sam's side of the bedroom, obviously very, he was in the military. He was a hunter, outdoorsman, athlete. Photographs everywhere. You can kind of tell he's into photography. He's got the rolls of film everywhere. Odin Finch National Park with the boys standing in front of the sign. Again, you play this again, you really kind of slow yourself down just to appreciate a lot of the detail in this game. And there's like steps that go up and like behind the beds. And then you look at Calvin. Obviously, he was very scientific, loved space. You know, Sputnik went up when? 1948, when the Soviets shot that up. So obviously, space was the next frontier. So
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him.
And you take this little path
I
up
guess my
above the
grandpa
bed.
didn't like history any more than my mom did.
And you have this cool little nook above the bed, and then you have the shrine to Calvin, which is so sad. And of course, you do see a lot of these pieces of wood that Edith has painted to memorialize all of the children that have passed on. We've already seen Molly's. We saw the beginning of Luce's. And now you see Calvin's.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
See,
my
now
brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did.
you have to use both these
At
sticks on
Barbara
your
Finley,
controller.
We swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
Calvin! I'm not gonna tell you again!
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
Oof. It goes all the way around. Twice. 3 times.
The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
So that's a pretty clear picture on how Calvin passed away. And I think Sam obviously felt a lot of guilt.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room. Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
Nice little cue to where to go next. Again, Sven, you are a genius with all of these little tunnels and passageways. But imagine being Sam, just kind of having going through that.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Yep, this is the second floor. We'll keep going here, where Milton has left another little drawing.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
Door is properly sealed.
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
Barbara, 1944 to 1960. So she was 16. Child actress.
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
This is pretty cool.
Here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up, a has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
So did he put the key back?
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
Ooh.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
It looks like something in regards to Kelvin there. He's got the cast on his foot. There's probably Molly as an owl. Again, just picking up these things that I have not even taken consideration of before. And of course, both of them had passed on by now, since this is 1960.
Finch rattled and grew still.
Oh dear!
Oh!
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you're...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And was. He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara. There's gotta be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges grow. He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet. The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Definitely pretty weird.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Yeah, but let's put her details of her death. I don't think it was obviously monsters, but I think she was murdered by an intruder, but that was pretty dramatic. Kind of strange that you want to keep that comic book lying around, though. But the Finch family isn't very normal. But that's Barbara.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
Gee, where are we going to go now? Yeah, so the third floor is still locked. Still can't get up there. Finn's workshop with those pieces of wood all cut up. That's what Edie's been using to...
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot.
Unless, Edie's been doing all his memorials with those pieces of wood.
I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages. I thought maybe she was hiding presents.
Now, remember when we were in Edie's bedroom, there was the article about the mole man.
It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that. I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
This still gets to me a little bit. So traumatized by Barbara's death, he basically shut himself away in the basement. You got shelves full of food, you got jugs of water. I mean, it's pretty self-sustainable down here. Looks like you got a shower, place to wash the dishes, sink, microwave. And of course, he knew he loved his trains. Looks like he kept in shape, plenty of books, but Walter lived to be...
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid.
Eating canned peaches day in, day out.
The longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave. Well, I still can. I know it's out there, somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara and Molly and Calvin
You think about it, he's lost 3 siblings when he was relatively pretty young. That's gotta end.
Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Oofda.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough story.
I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me. Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe 2, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
Imagine having a house built right over a train track. And of course it just, obviously the tracks aren't here anymore. Right along the cliff. Boy, that's, there must have been some washout. Yeah, that Walter story.
I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me.
Yeah, those lights just popped on.
But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
Beautiful game.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible. I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it.
God. What a statement.
What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
God.
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils are mine, and 2 had been my fault. Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery. I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away.
Odin standing on top of the...
poking out of the water at low tide.
There it is, the old house. I just like how dramatic that is.
Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night.
It's crazy. Whole entire house still just sitting out there.
Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better.
Sam Finch, 33 years old. Gregory, not quite 2 years old. And Gus, what, 13? God, that's awful. Milton without the actual date of his death because he went missing.
She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us.
So that's her mom's husband there, Sanjay. He also died pretty young. Oofta.
There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself.
Yeah, I think Edith's doing a pretty good job at that. Well, it's pretty brave of her to be
looking back on it now,
climbing up on this treehouse.
if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Boom. There you find out that Edith is pregnant, or Edith is pregnant. So that's the garage. We already went through there. I think when you were playing as Molly, this part of the house is getting added onto at that time. You did see the...
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common.
Just hanging out there with your own little fire pit, your ashtray. Again, the detail is amazing.
They were both pretty intense.
So we're in Sam's own room.
Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
There's a trigger there. There's another. There's Sam there. He's a Marine.
Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
Yeah, if he probably fought in Vietnam. Okay, that's his. That was his first wife. Door sealed shut. You got 3 baby footprints, assuming that's his 3 children, including Edith's mom. Medals. He's got the Purple Heart. Taking selfies.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged. Perfect.
Edith's mom.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
Odin Finch has his own national
I'm gonna
park.
take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though. Aw.
Not really sure where I should be pointing this camera at.
definitely should not have drunk all that coffee.
Hold.
Hey!
That's a keeper.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Dawn, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph? Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere. I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Give me a minute to check the map. You don't need to waste any more film on me, kiddo. Let's see.
Just taking shots.
Maybe. Or was it?
Dad!
Good eyes, Dawn. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Great shot, Dawn! I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay?
Nope.
Sorry, Dawn. Just gotta reset the timer.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally
so...
normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
Oh my gosh.
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
MREs.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Oh. The kids' room.
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet...
wonder what those light switches were for. Again, everything's completely sealed up. Looked like their dad Sam had them on a pretty tight, pretty structured schedule. Greg, be a baby. And of course, everything is to be physically fit as well. Oh, divorce papers, those are fun.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
I'm moving the frog left and right. The duck is following me.
Time's over, Gregory. It's time to... Hold on, sweetie.
That's the pink bathroom.
Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw.
The reflections in the words out the side of the tub in the water, that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, Sam is having an argument.
He reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination.
It's like that scene from Caddyshack where all the caddies are in the pool. They're all synchronized swimming. Dive with the R2 button, trigger. Oh, there we go. Now we're jumping. You know, let's knock Mr.
Sure made him happy.
Whale guy in the water. I know you get I think you get a trophy for knocking all these letters off. Get this whale up right here. There we go. Oh. There we go. Got some more guys. Get up on Mr. Whale again. I'm trying here. There we go.
I know how silly it sounds. That I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
I wish he could have told us about the world he saw.
Oh boy.
There's so much I don't understand about Gregory. About everything.
Still just... It's tough.
But I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
Oh. Oofda. Gus.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom, were the words that I
now
remember.
pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
So Sam got remarried. Just flying this kite around. Oh, there we go. There's our words.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger.
Obviously, Gus, not a very happy camper.
The wind picked up, and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent.
The ocean's looking a little rough out there.
rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder." I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't, until we found you.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Don is a year older than Gus. Since this is 2017, looked like Don had just passed away the year before, too. Sympathy cards. Gosh. So Gus died in the storm. Baby Gregory drowned. Now we're going up.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay. My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Lewis was born a year later.
And you still got missing posters everywhere. And this is the front of the house.
When
Now
my
we're
dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back.
Gardens for the kids.
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
That's just amazing how you can build this house, but then you just keep tacking onto it little by little. Just keep going up. They don't build out, they keep going up. And to me, I think that's the whole appeal of the game to me is, you know, not just the story, but it's the house itself that it's so good.
And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last.
Just the detail in the photographs that they put all over in the house. She did something on her great-grandfather. The curse of the... I don't know how you could... You've dealt with so much death already, and, you know, you grasp it like this. Let's just put it on a board and show it off as a project.
beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Can't go all the way around it. But what a sweet little bedroom here that Milton had. He was the artist. If you ever play the Unfinished Swan, there's a lot of nods to that game.
I think Edie was happy to finally have another painter in the
Especially with
family.
that frog there. And it's another fantastic game by Giant Sparrow. Highly recommend playing it. I think they did port it over for the PS4 as well. I have my own interpretation about Milton's disappearance. And I think that's what the developers were trying to get at. Like a lot of this here, I think that's in the Unfinished Swan, like that game, you know, with these courtyards and this town. Edie built him a pretty sweet studio. I mean, you see the top of the house. It's brilliant. I would spend if this house is real, yeah. How don't you want to live here?
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
So he paints this door. Puts a doorknob on it. Door opens up. Boom, he's gone.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
It's Milton's tribute from Grandma Edie.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Yeah, and this is where I think you can kind of get your own interpretation of this. Painting of a door. I like to
Whatever
think that
Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
I think Milton, with his magic paintbrush, went through that door. That's why nobody could find him.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
Lewis.
Everyone always told me to stay out of Lewis's room. Except Lewis.
Imagine getting a boat up here to add on to the house. How did you get it up here? I mean, personally, I'm afraid of heights just slightly. But man, how could you I mean, I'm just in awe of this place.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
Yeah, he liked his marijuana.
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to...
I'm doing the fish thing with the right stick in my controller.
wander.
And the left stick actually is moving this man.
I asked him to describe it.
So you gotta have to kind of do two things at once here.
He started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads.
Oh, there's an opening here.
And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then, daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss, but he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first.
Whoever came up with this idea in this game is brilliant.
On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick.
Love the music. Love it.
And he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor, and he won. They begged him to stay.
I almost think that's
but
a
his
reference
mind
to
was
Mario
already
Brothers.
wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery.
That's awful.
Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on.
Lost in his own thoughts.
In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for...
She was on the mood. She was in the mood for rainbows, I think.
Radiant rainbows. He followed the sound of her.
Yep.
Electric sitar. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon.
Oh.
Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
Oh. Well, here's his locker.
He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Louis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting me.
Molly the cat.
His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
One more place to go.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left.
I thought the power got shut off. We got lights here. We had lights down in Lewis's room. Nah. I'm not gonna.
My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe I should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
Pretty cool room.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That's just gotta be so tough. Basically sealing the doors to all your kids, your grandchildren's rooms. You're trying to...
What you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them.
It has a fence.
Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you. And tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier replaying the game. It just hits. It's the house, it's the stories, the family, the music. It's put together just so beautifully. It's not a happy story at all. It's very it's depressing. I can't help but laugh, but it's just it's just horrible what happens to these people. I really do hope that they come up with something new in the future. This development group, at Giant Sparrow. They did a fantastic job with this game. Great work. Again, it's probably one of the best games I've ever played. Neil Druckmann. That's a name that's familiar to a lot of people. Big man at Naughty Dog, who did Uncharted, Last of Us. And there is the final family tree of the Finches. Edith does pass away in 2017. You don't know who her son is. But it's I don't know what to say. It's so good. I think that's why I can only play once a year. It is so mentally draining. I'm exhausted. I started this at 7:30, so we're going about almost 2.5 hours. About 2 hours 20 minutes right now. And I took it pretty slow. But I'm exhausted. My mind is. It's just one of those stories that just really makes you. That really just. I can't explain it. It's just that good. I think Walter's story to me is the one that kind of hurt the most. You know, you're basically in the same house the night Barbara dies or she's murdered or whatever, and he can't deal with it. He just wants to get away from it all. So he basically becomes the mole man underneath the Finch house, which is very tragic, very sad. Edie, I'm kind of surprised, if it enabled it, just letting him live underneath there, just giving him groceries whenever. But it's, yeah, just a tough thing. So, with that is I can't explain much more of the game. It's I probably won't play it for. Until next year. Needed to recharge the batteries, so to speak. So, next stream, I don't know yet. I actually did pick up Fall Guys. That was the free game this month on the PlayStation Plus. That's obviously been taking off big time. A lot of people really jumping on that bandwagon. I've never even downloaded it. I've got it in my library. Haven't downloaded it quite yet. Love to see what that's all about. Resident Evil 3 I bought in the summer sale. I had a $10 credit for the 10-year anniversary of the PlayStation Plus, so I put that money to good use, and I bought Resident Evil 3. I haven't even started that yet, so that might be a nice one to kind of get started into. to stream. And obviously there's Red Dead Online. Can't get enough of that. So those are the future streams. Not going to do anything this weekend. I'm on the road this weekend, so maybe looking sometime next week. So with that, I think I'm going to sign off for this evening. Grab a cold beer. Relax a little bit. Yeah, I'm famished. I'm shot. So again, that's just Giant Sparrow made a great game. I can't say enough about it. So I highly recommend just, if you have not played it, obviously if you're probably watching it, you probably have played it, but I don't know. But it's one of the greatest games I think of our generation. So kudos to Giant Sparrow and that team, and I'm really looking forward to see what they come up with next. So with that, have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay sane this weekend. Be good, and take care.